the cigar. For some, a beacon of relaxation, luxury, sophistication. For others, a beacon of frustration, confusion, maybe even some anxiety. See, there's a lot of things in cigars that some people say are requirements or prerequisites to get into cigars. Some people have very strong opinions about how you should cut or light or hold a cigar. And there's just a lot of myths that have sprung up from just personal opinion. So today, I want to debunk some of the more common cigar myths and set the record straight once and for all. So feel free to grab your favorite smoke. Join me today. I'm smoking an Oliva Master Blend 3. Let's go ahead and get into it. Myth number one, you have to remove the cellophane of your cigar before you store it. Wrong. Again, this is a personal opinion. The cellophane is it is a breathable membrane. Your cigar will age just fine inside of the cellophane. The cellophane will protect your cigar. A lot of times, if you have a cigar out in the nude like this, and it's bumping against other cigars, getting dinged up, the foot of the cigar is going to start showing some damage, and probably the wrapper itself, we're going to start to see some bruising, some damage, some blemishes. The cellophane will protect your cigar from any of that unnecessary damage. And the other cool thing with the cellophane, you can see the difference in a well-aged cigar versus a cigar that is fairly young. Let me go ahead and take the cigar out just so you can see the absolute difference. See, this is why you leave it wrapped in cellophane, because I'm clumsy and I would damage all my cigars. You can see the difference. This is a CAO Extra Añejo. It's aged for 2 years in the cellophane. This is an Undercrown Maduro. While they sit inside these cellophane wrappers, the tobacco leaf, the wrapper leaf, will leave off some, or will give off some oil. While it's giving off this oil, since this cellophane is a breathable membrane, it will pick up some of that oil. And what you get is a really good indication of if a cigar is well aged or not. If you grab a cigar that is in cellophane, you leave it in your humidor for 2-3 years, you will start to see that wrapper get dark and more dark over time. So the wrapper is not detrimental to your cigar. Does it look pretty? No. Does it protect your cigar? Absolutely. Will it hurt your cigar? Not at all. So it's a matter of preference. If you want to take yours out, feel free to. If you want to leave them in, that's fine too. Another thing to consider, allegedly, if you have, let's say, a Connecticut wrapper touching a Maduro wrapper, something that's really, really light versus something that's really, really dark and oily, as those cigars are touching, they will exchange oils over time, which can alter the flavor of your cigar. Also, every single cigar has some chance of infestation with cigar beetles. A lot of major cigar manufacturers now freeze their cigars, so it's not as risky as it used to be in the past. But theoretically, every single cigar will have some trace of a cigar beetle in it. If your cigar beetle decides to hatch and come to life, the cellophane will keep that beetle within this one cigar and keep it from spreading through the entire box or through the entire humidor. You can cut a cigar with anything. You can just bite onto the end and rip it off. You can use your fingernail to pop it off, and that's a dangerous myth. Technically, it is true. You can cut a cigar with anything sharp, like scissors, pocket knife, can opener if you really want to. I don't know why you would, but it's not recommended. A cigar cutter is specifically designed to cut a cigar. This is a standard guillotine cutter. This is a standard V-cut. And then you just have some really cool cigar scissors. They are designed specifically to cut the cigar without damaging the wrapper. I've seen before me actually try to cut a cigar using, I got a lighter from a company that had a built-in guillotine, and I did not sharpen the blade at all before using it. And as I cut, it actually cut the wrapper leaf, or pinched the wrapper leaf down, and it made the wrapper leaf kind of burst open. So you run the risk of damaging the wrapper and overall damaging the smoking experience when you use something that's not designed to cut the actual cigar. You will obviously create a hole in the wrapper and possibly the binder, which makes it like sucking through a straw with a giant hole in the side of it. It's not exactly pleasant. Use a common everyday cigar cutter. Doesn't have to be very expensive. You can use a cheap one. If you notice the blade is getting dull, roll up some aluminum foil, cut it through there, and it'll actually sharpen the blade up. You should always light a cigar with a match or cedar. Well, it's true, matches and cedar can be used to light cigars. Matches are actually not the best option for a couple of reasons. One, matches burn at a way lower temperature than your standard jet lighter, which is going to not only affect how the cigar burns, but it also off-puts like a sulfuric smell, right? They always say when you light the match, you have to wait until you can no longer smell the match before you start lighting the cigar. The other thing to think about is if you're lighting correctly, you're having your flame way out here while you're touching up the cigar, right? You're basically toasting the foot. With a match, you have a limited amount of time before you can start lighting it, so you're not warming up the tobacco to accept the flame, which is gonna result in you scorching the tobacco a little bit. So while matches are possible, cedar spills are possible, and they look really cool, a lighter is honestly the best option for lighting your cigar. Next myth, this is myth number 4, I think Cuban cigars are the best cigars in the world. It's a matter of opinion. You know, when it comes to flavor, I happen to like a more spicy, full-body cigar that you're not really gonna get from a Cuban cigar. A lot of people think Cuban cigars are the best simply because they're hard to get, which, you know, I don't think makes it an automatic default for enjoyment. Similar to like Blanton's bourbon, right? A lot of people can't find it, it's hard to get, everybody chases the bottle, and everyone hypes it up. And it's a great bottle of bourbon, but I don't think it's the best bottle of bourbon in the world. Same with Buffalo Trace, it's a $27, $28 bottle, and people hype it up like it's a $100 bottle, when it's just okay. The myth is pretty much false that Cubans are the best cigars in the world, especially since a lot of Cuban cigar makers have taken their seeds and their product and have moved from Cuba into areas like Nicaragua and Ecuador, and they've set up shop in these other countries after the Castro Revolution. So if you really want to get a Cuban cigar just to say you've tried one, absolutely, everyone should try it. I have 4 Cubans in my personal humidor. They're just not my favorite. Personal preference. Myth number 5, you should store cigars in your refrigerator. I think this spun around from people storing cigars in their freezer, which people do freeze their cigars from time to time. It's totally fine to do so for a small amount of time. In fact, doing so will actually prevent cigar beetles. But refrigerating your cigars, that's using cold, dry air, and your cigars need constant, fresh, moist air to be able to stay at the humidity that they need. Otherwise, you're just gonna have dry, gross, flavorless cigars as they dry out and let out all their essential oils, and you're just essentially left with a roll of paper. So please do not store your cigars in your refrigerator. Keep them in a humidor, keep them in a cooler, in Tupperware, whatever you need, but a refrigerator is actually more damaging to your cigar than just leaving them out at room temperature. All right, myth, I think we're on number 6. Maduro wrappers are darker than any other color wrapper, therefore they are stronger. False. This Maduro actually means mature. So Maduro wrapper doesn't necessarily mean the color of the wrapper. It means that the leaves have gone through a natural process of fermentation to mature. And because they go through this natural fermentation process, the leaves are actually sweeter than your average Connecticut style wrapper. I've had some Connecticut's that are stronger than some Maduros, and I've had some Maduros that are incredibly light. You can't really tell a cigar just by the color. While it's typically a good rule of thumb, you're gonna be surprised if you trust that 100% of the time. Myth number 7, you're supposed to run your lighter along the edge of the cigar to warm it up before you light it. No. You don't want to do that. You just want to toast the foot, accept the flame, and then puff away. The cigar, the wrapper leaf itself will warm up as the cherry of the cigar works its way down. You don't need to warm up the whole thing. I've seen some people that like roll their cigar between their hand and like all kinds of weird stuff. You don't need to do that. Just toast the foot, light it, smoke it, let it take care of itself. Myth number 8, lick the cigar before lighting it. I've seen people do that. I don't know why. You don't need to do it. There's no benefits. It's just weird. Please don't be a cigar licker. Another common myth that I hear is the color of the ash indicates the quality of the cigar. And I've even seen some cigar reviews that say, oh, it's a nice white ash, which is an indicator of a well-constructed cigar. It's not a thing. The color of the ash, here, let me zoom in for you. The color of the ash actually has to do with the minerals found in the tobacco. So calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, all make the ash whiter, where potassium actually makes the ash darker to like a light gray, darker gray, right? All those minerals are found in the soil. All the soil gives the nutrients to the plants then age, and that's the ash that you're seeing is the minerals left behind. Cigars with Cuban tobacco, for instance, tend to have a slightly darker ash than Nicaraguan, and that's because of the phosphorus found in the soil of Cuban cigars versus that in Nicaragua. Cigars made in Honduras or in the Dominican Republic tend to be a little more off-white to light gray because they have more magnesium, calcium, and some of the phosphorus that makes the cigar whiter. So it has everything to do about the territory that the tobacco was grown in. Has nothing to do with the quality of the cigars. And the last myth that I really want to cover with you guys, oh, my hair is doing some crazy stuff. The last myth that I want to cover is a long ash means a good cigar. It's a popular myth. It's very popular on Instagram. You always see the post of the 8-inch ash, right? It's just not true. A long ash is simply a sign that the cigar is burning evenly, and it has no impact on the taste or the quality of the cigar. In fact, a lot of cigar experts believe that a long ash can inhibit the flavor of the cigar. The ash does act as a nice insulator for the cherry to keep it protected, but you really don't want the ash to go any further than, inch and a half at the most before you ash the cigar. And when you ash a cigar, the last thing you want to do is smash the cigar down. If you need to get rid of the ash and it's just not falling off, you can do a gentle tap, and if that doesn't work, you can just kind of roll the cigar a little bit and the ash will come off on its own. Long ash doesn't mean anything, even though it looks really cool for Instagram.